I am HO Talk Show. That's right. That's right. We're still here. This another special edition. Fortunate for us, for you, for our people, being here for each other, but unfortunately, due to circumstances, like I said earlier, Aaron, it's kind of like seeing that family member at a funeral, and you'd be like, "Good to see you, my man." You know, too bad it's these situations, these circumstances that we have to see each other.
100%.
But it is what it is. We had to be here on this weekend. To further speak, we're in phase 1 of our COVID response for our state, as well as, unfortunately, the resurgence, so to speak, at least to the headlines, of police brutality and the killing of unarmed black men in this country. And
women. And women.
I'm sorry, and women.
And women.
Thank you for that correction.
No, hey, I just want to make sure we're being accurate. That's all.
Absolutely. So, as we said at the top of the show, our voices are getting louder and stronger, I believe, but we still got to get to the core of this thing, still got to get to the roots. We talked with Police Chief Brackney, and we realized that a lot of that is by voting still. A lot of people don't agree with the voting. They say it's a waste, but that's something that we still have to see when that's necessary and the power in that. But also what we have here going on right now, which is the sort of the union, right, of getting together, communicating, and being open and being real about solutions. That's why we love when we have our brother Gene Cash with us of Counseling Alliances of Virginia. And we are joined by a couple of his colleagues as well. We have Zuri and Corey. So real quick, before we dive any deeper, y'all, I want you brothers to know that we started this show by calling out, just a few of the names that are representative of what we're feeling right now, because we could spend the whole segment just naming and sort of memorializing all those who were unjustly killed. But, we want people to say their names, Ahmaud Arbery, say the name of Breonna Taylor, say the name of George Floyd, speak it into existence, for remembrance so that people know that this is real. This is someone's loved one, someone's family who, by all accounts that we can see, are constantly being unjustly killed, and people in authority constantly taking advantage of us and using excessive force. So, Counseling Alliance of Virginia. Gene, I'm going to kick it over to you guys for those that may not be familiar with the Counseling Alliance, for you to introduce your colleagues.
Charles, I just want to say, Charles, Max, and Aaron, I appreciate you guys creating space for the community to hear our voices.
Of course.
Thank you.
I'm Gene Cash. I'm the executive director and owner of Counseling Alliance of Virginia, and we have been combating and dealing with white supremacy in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Richmond since the domestic terrorist attack back in 2017. We've created positions in our company to support anti-racist beliefs, to help serve the community. And we've created a position that Corey Love, our licensed professional counselor, he has stepped into that role, and He's our anti-racist coordinator to continue to push in our system dismantling white supremacy. And we've also enlisted Zuri Washington, a young graduate of VCU, the graduate of Thomas Dale High School in Richmond, Virginia. And he's going to be going to VCU, but he's been our social media man, helping us continue to have a voice on those platforms that we normally don't do. So these men are great advocates, and it's nice to have them part of our team.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for all the work that you're doing, for sure. So Gene, maybe you could kick it off for us. Aaron, what stands out to me is that the simple fact that you had to hire someone to combat racism in 2020, like that alone shows that how deep this issue is, to where you feel like that you have to have FTE sort of manpower resources to go towards this. Like, that's how, for anybody that's thinking that we're just, conspiracy theorists or we're blowing it out of proportion, like, that's how big a deal this is. That man's bottom line of his company has to deal with this. Aaron?
I 100% agree. I think that that's what we call counter racism. That's that's not being confused about the environment that you are in. And one of the things I wanted to talk to Gene and his crew about was they always say that the brain will react when it's ready. And so I've had conversations with my sons about racism. I used to sit them down when they was younger, Charles. We watching Hidden Colors and lectures and I'm just having conversations. But the brain wasn't ready. And so this week, one of my sons comes in my room and he just sits down in the bed and says, "Did you see what happened to George Floyd?" And I said, "Yeah." And he just said, "What do you think?" And I just looked at him and I'll continue to use this sentiment. When you're in war, this is to be expected. And he just looked at me and he just was like, "You really?" I said, "Chris, you have to show me some evidence that this is not." And he thought about it. And then I had another conversation with a young man and he said, "Why are they doing this to us?" And that's very interesting. Why are they doing this to us? Because young people's worlds are totally different. We're in our 40s or late 30s or whatever ages are, but think about a 17, 19 or 20-year-old child that grows up in an environment, and then all of a sudden they're coming to this realization that this world that I envision doesn't exist. So Gene, my first question is, how important are conversations about racism to us and having them with our black families? And then my second question,
I'm gonna add on to that too.
And then my second question is for the young people that you have working there. How did they get involved in this work? Because I come across a lot of young people that that want nothing to do with racism. It doesn't exist. That's not my problem. That's something that happened in 1960s and it's over now. So the two questions are, how important are conversations for black families talking about racism, white supremacy? And then I want to know from the young people you specifically have there. We got real young people here.
Yeah, you're and Chris.
So I want to know, what was their environments like and how did they begin to think and want to get involved in this work? Sorry to be so long-winded.
Well, I think I got your first question right, how important it is to have those conversations with our black families.
Yes.
My first thought is we always have those conversations with our black families. We tend to, because we see the Holocaust and all the killings that happened to us. So it's 1,000% important for us to continue to educate and bring to light, like you said, the war or the white supremacist, white superiority, the racism that they encounter every day. And I know sometimes people walk through this world and become assimilated and believe that everything's okay, and it's not.
That's right.
It's subtle. It's insidious. It's in our culture. It's the bedrock of America. So as black families, I believe that we have to have those conversations with our children, with our colleagues, with our friends, with everybody. But I just want to add before I give it over to Corey and Zuri, I just got to add that white people need to start having these conversations in their house around white supremacy and how they benefit and how they continue to perpetuate this ongoing teaching to their children. I don't know how many clients I had this week, white clients who come in uncomfortable when they see a black man. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, shoot. How do I navigate this? He's here to help me. How do I navigate talking about that the white police officer just killed one of his people? So I really believe we got to have those conversations, but I think that the white people need to start having them in a different way. Not about, those poor black people.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
a way it's like, oh my God, how can that white man do that to that black man? What is wrong with us? It's not about us. It's not about black people. It's about what the mental illness that white supremacy pushes. So
that PTSD.
That's
that
my
you told
belief.
me about,
Conversations definitely have to happen. I'm telling you, the trauma, the rage that we walk with, and for white people to turn a blind eye to the trauma that they see is truly interesting to me. It's truly challenging. So that's my thought, Aaron, if that helps you.
I appreciate that sentiment. Absolutely.
how I got involved with this. I remember first hearing about slavery in preschool. I was about 4 years old, and we were reading a book about it, and I just couldn't like understand like why people were enslaved because the color of their skin, why they were beat, why they were whooped, rape, murder, all of that. I just couldn't understand it. So from there, I started to get into history. And then going to school, going to a white school and going to a black school, I saw the difference. It was like going back and forth, elementary, middle, high school. And I ended up in high school, ended up at a white school. And it was just like, I guess, a culture shock. It was so weird, like just being in that environment where like there was like little to no culture. But there was still black people, but it's like we weren't heard, our voices weren't heard. And just the racist things going on in high school, on social media, in the parking lot, in the community. And I just couldn't keep watching it from like my phone or from back there. Like I had to take action.
Right.
And I knew that if I took action, that people would eventually join me, and that happened. And we kept building and kept doing great things. And being able to inspire people to do things in their community just keeps me going.
Nice.
And I appreciate that. That's one thing I want to point out again is that this is a young person in high school that was experiencing racism. And it's the number one problem on the planet, and it's something that we have to, it's all hands on deck. But when we can get our young people involved in wanting to solve problems, and as Gene said, and other whites and everybody, it's a humanity problem. But we just got to be better. Max, you got something? You got some questions?
We'll kick it over to Corey first.
Oh, okay. Yep. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I think similar to Zuri, there were some early experiences that definitely aren't unique to me as a black person, because I hate that I'm sure there's some experiences that we've all had even from jump.
Absolutely.
And being born in the South of North Carolina, but I moved to Maryland early, I could still feel differences, still had some experience. So I think it really picked up in college, where I went for undergrad. It's predominantly a white institution, and that wasn't by choice. It was more so just easier financially. And I had a good time there, but there were some experiences there that were really hard. And once I went to grad school at HBCU, there was a level of safety for me. But I will credit Gene a lot that even for me as a man at work, when a lot of these shootings were happening years ago, and there's a lot of people at work at any job that, man, I want to speak up or maybe struggle internally. I was one of those people that didn't want to say anything. I didn't feel safe. I didn't want to look angry. I didn't want to look crazy. I didn't want to look like that at all. And Gene and I really sat down and worked through that, because it couldn't go on. And if it was like that at work, that even one of us couldn't speak up, then we couldn't help any of these clients. We couldn't help ourselves. Wouldn't be able to help our community. So once Gene and I were able to really sit down and work through these things and really realize, okay, this isn't okay. Like Black people have to have a voice. People of color have to have a voice. And that really sits with me as we move forward, and even helping people now, even with our clients, like, hey, people are having a hard time, and people are dying, people are getting mistreated, people really need help. So that's why the work for me has to be done, and my interest in that.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And, I'm going to kick it over to Max, but before I do, though, please charge it to my head, not my heart. Like, you guys, like, how are you doing? Like, I know we kind of, like, we did the greeting, hello, hey, what's up, bro, I'm good. But, like, seriously, because, it's kind of like the old adage of, like, who tows the tow truck? You follow what I'm saying? It's like, so you guys being in that realm of counseling, like, what's some of your coping mechanisms, man? Because, I'm speaking to you right now, like, sort of like take off the, like the business attire for a second, and just as a Black man watching this news and knowing that when you walk out your door, you're already, at a higher risk of pretty much everything the statistics show, right? So, like, how are you gentlemen coping as Black men?
Yeah, go ahead.
I appreciate that ask. I really do. Because I know we're in the field, we don't get that asked that much. But I'm telling you, I'm rageful. I'm infuriated. I walk trying to hold it together. Like when that happened, we had group supervision with all my staff, and I said, I can't talk about it. I can't. I'm not in the place to talk about it. I am too hurt. I was just overwhelmed. And last night when I came home from work and just watching CNN, and that's when the tears came. And I try to push them back as a Black man and just try to hold it all together. But that's when the tears came. And I'm just tired of watching us get killed. I'm tired of how they report out on it, how violent we are, and just how the media sometimes, I gotta say, they did better than Ferguson, but sometimes just how they depict us, just really tired. So one of the things I do is I could talk to my friends, talk to my colleagues. I call my mom, talk to mom, and she talks about how fearful she is of me walking out every day. And I'll be honest, I got asthma and I can't breathe. And my fear is getting pulled over, being a big Black man, and they're going to bring 2-3 cars. And the conversation may not go well, and I may die just for being Black. And but Charles, I mean, I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling, but it only motivates me even more to make sure we do something to make this different. So, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, well, you know, we're here for you, brother. That's right. Got to keep that brotherhood. And Zuri, how about yourself?
Yeah, just basically what Gene said. Like, it's not easy. The older that I grow, and just knowing that I'm just a target whenever I leave the house, and even in the house, like in this world, like you're a target no matter where I go. And one thing that I did to cope was I taught. Like yesterday, my club at high school, African American Culture Club, we had a community conversation about these injustices. We had about 30 people. We had teachers, students, people from the community, and we just talked it out, how we're feeling. We talked about action steps, and that was I feel like that helped not only helped me, but it helped all the people that was there just to be able to talk about it. I just put it on social media, and I had to fight with somebody who's racist in the comments, having a fight in the comments. They just talk it out and just be peaceful.
Good stuff.
And I stepped into that meeting, and I was amazed at. I think it was about 50 kids, and it was about 50 of them, and they were just crying, talking, sharing, and just letting out all the toxicity that comes with this. So
That's great.
I mean, hats off to Zuri. He did a great job hosting that.
And Court?
For me, it's like Gene said, it has been hard. I know for me, exercise is a big thing, and I think even before Ahmaud was killed, I was already on alert and conscious of where I was. I can't even lie. This morning, I just went and I caught myself crossing the street as soon as I saw a white woman, and I had to like really think about it. Like, okay, why am I walking away? Why am I making sure I don't even look at her? So there's no confrontation. So really sitting in that, and then I talk to my father a lot. I talk to my therapist. He's a Black man. I talk to a lot of like-minded friends as well. For me, I have to sit in silence as well, because Richmond had some demonstrations last night, and I wasn't aware of them initially. I kind of glanced at the news to kind of see what was going on. So that may have, I'm not against it, but I think I wasn't in the space yesterday to be out there.
Right, yeah.
So not saying anybody shouldn't have been or it was wrong, but just kind of watching before I make some decisions. So really try to take care of my body and what I'm ingesting right now, because the news is a beast. Twitter is a beast. It comes at you in floods. So if you just kind of sit and watch, it can be hard to recalibrate.
That's right.
You know, just
you good? So we are here with the Counseling Alliance of Virginia. We're joined by Gene, Zuri, and Corey. It's Charles, it's Max, it's AA Ron. So you good, Miss Max?
Yeah, I'm good. Just listening to Corey talk about how he has to live in his head and analyze every piece of his life to make sure that he can keep it, right? It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you know, Gene, I'll tell you that I was really looking forward to the interview today with you because I'm traumatized right now, and I don't know. I've suppressed my feelings in a lot of ways. I don't know what to feel because I feel everything, and I was, you know, just hoping to be able to speak to you to hear what the beginning of the next step, you know, should look like. Talking to my brothers today, Charles and Aaron, has helped some. It's been therapeutic, but and with everything that I'm feeling right now, I can't imagine what the people that came before me, right, in the civil rights era and even before that, possibly went through. And each young brother's talking about you know how they feel and what they're involved in, and you know just their emotions after learning about what's happening to George Floyd and other people, you know, and talking to my own boys. It took me a few days after learning about George because I was processing my own feelings to even bring it up to them, and they actually overheard me watching the video, so then they came over and just, you know, peeked over my shoulder. And that's how they learned about it. And so it's like, all right, here we go. You know, I'm holding my breath. I'm about to have this conversation. And it's like, as a mom, it's like, am I traumatizing them or preparing them? Because I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. So, you know, I'm talking to him about it when I'm 13, and he's like, I don't know how to feel. When I'm 15, and you can see that, I could see the strength and the anger rise up in him. Like, you know, that if a police officer, you know, comes at me the wrong way, he's young, you know, he's a man. So he's feeling like, no, this is not right. I'll say something or do something.
Yeah.
And you know, I got to tell him, no, you can't, because you might die. But it's, you know, I don't know how to advise them anymore. And you know, another thing that I've been feeling is like, the ultimate sacrifice through all of this has been the loss of life, and I don't want to diminish the value of that at all. But I did ask myself whether or not, you know, do Black women lose the most in this? And I say that because we're in a lot of cases, you know, we're the most outspoken when it comes to social justice or racism, right? Arguably, we're the most outspoken. We love the ones, we gave birth to the ones, and we love the ones that are being killed. So then we have to live with the hurt, the pain, the PTSD, the mental health effects, or whatever that comes as a result of that. And then we're the ones left to carry on once it's all over with. So it's just like, I feel for all the Black women out there, because I think we're damaged the most.
Gene? Core?
Goes out to you. My heart definitely goes out to you. Okay, big hug across the waves. Okay, and I agree when you talk about Black women carrying white supremacy's tragedies on our people and their sons and their brothers and their uncles and their fathers. The thing that when you say, I think the complex trauma is what we struggle with the most. It's like we don't have time to heal, or because there's another trauma that comes on top of the Black woman, and the fears that they walk around with. every day is another trauma that they continue to hold. And there's not enough time for validation. There's not enough time for grief. There's not enough time for healing before something else comes. And then they have to continue to be strong.
Right.
When they deserve to feel weak and vulnerable. And that is the atrocity of conflict. My heart goes out to you and all the mothers. And I know we dying too, but I understand what you're saying is the day in and day out of these atrocities is just overwhelming. And when you say about what's the step is that I know sometimes as our people say, we keep it in house. We don't talk to other people outside. But I truly believe that counseling and therapy is beneficial to us all. And talking to somebody with some training. Now, when I say some training, I gotta say, my initiative to start bringing racial awareness and sensitivity into the therapy room was not my training growing up. It was not my training for 20-something years. It was really whitewashed. And to not Afrocentric our trauma was not specifically trained. So now I believe we are more equipped to be able to support you and your healing around race. And it's the rage, that the rage and the feelings of hopelessness when these things happen that we have to process. We have to be able to rebuild and support and nurture healing in all of you. So I'll let Corey get in if he wants to add.
Yeah, I think even just now, Max, I don't even think I realized I needed to be validated. So thank you. When you said that from jump, because I didn't feel any kind of way until you said that. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And not that, and maybe some of that is adjusting to society and try to keep it moving. But I say thank you for that. And that is, to your point, that is a lot of, guess what Black women experience, because for one, being vessels for life, and then having to, even as far back as slavery, if they sell the children, if they take the men away, but then leave these women on these plantations away to raise white children and deal with, like Gene said, consistent trauma over and over and over, and still navigating. And the world assumes that Black people can take pain, Black people can take whatever, higher levels of pain than anyone else, and that's just not the truth, and that's just not the reality, and that shouldn't be the expectations for any of us. And when you talk about your children and people in your life, that is that's a hard one. Because I think what you did is, for one, the validating, the listening, the really talking about how they see everything, because these kids see everything. And people may think the youth don't understand, but they do. So I think that's a big part of it, is really listening and really talking to them and see how they view it and how their viewpoints are.
And Zuri, I wanted to give you an opportunity to chime in on all that too, because particularly with communicating with young folk, like maybe some of your methods of reaching out through social media and whatnot to make sure that we get their attention, of course, but in a way that's age appropriate.
Well, social media right now, these past couple of days, has just been wow. It's like every time you go on Instagram, you go on your explore page, you see some type of like police brutality. and it tires me out and other young people out. And I think with this case, with the George Floyd case, we're just tired. Like us young people, we're tired of seeing the same thing, and so we repost them. But like, not only do we have to repost, but we got to take action. And so with people like Sean King, the thing that he has on his Instagram is phone numbers that you can text, that you can call, like the mayor, the district attorney, petitions. And there's so many petitions out right now that we're doing. So I think that with us young people, we're just trying to figure out how we can get involved with it and how we can make some type of change, because we're tired too. We're tired.
Good. Like, family, we are joined by the Counseling Alliance of Virginia. We have Gene, we have Zuri, we have Corey. Man, yeah, this is much needed. It's much needed. It's kind of, we all have said that we're dealing with our own way, but we see the power, in that communion, of us sort of being there for each other, even when we didn't even expect it. Just like how when Max opened up, that was something that blessed Corey that he didn't even know he needed, he said, so that just shows the power of family, and just being real with each other. Man, so anybody that knows us, Aaron, and anybody that may be new, you should know that we don't just talk. We bring these experts on to get to the solutions, get to the bottom of it. And so, even though this is an ongoing thing, that just shows that we have to be, even realer about it, and we have to recognize, what's missing. Like, why haven't we solved this issue of racism? And I've heard a bunch of points that all point towards those reasons. And Gene, one of the things that I wanted to bring up was, you mentioned how you sort of kicked it into another gear after what happened in Charlottesville in 2017. And so the piece, about white privilege, to me, that's the piece that has to be relinquished the most, because that privilege encapsulates so much, right? Like, that to them is their safety of, it's like a safety net of everything that's controllable about this America that, that they institutionalized. And that means that somebody else has to be feared. Somebody else has to be, discriminated against in order to keep them sort of in their place, right? And so that's why I was one, and a lot of people didn't agree with it, Aaron, you may remember. But I was like, when August 17 happened, and here in when 8/12 happened in 2017 here in Charlottesville, I was like, brothers, I get why you want to be there, but white people have to be there. They have to be on the front line. It's like white supremacy has to be tackled from within as well. Like, there's not going to be just enough for us. So that's why I say that privilege is one of the main things. But I wanted to just set that up though. But the real question that I have for you guys though is addressing a term that I heard one of my favorite journalists, Mike Muse, mention. He kept using the term microaggressions. Right? Because it's like microaggressions that we as black men and black women too, black people, deal with every day. Particularly like when you're talking about on your job, and as we see when you're just out in society, there's things that we bottle up, right? Because we already feel somebody may be looking at us a certain way, like I heard you guys say, we automatically feel a type of way. But trying to, Gene, I think we really need help on how to recognize and manage those aggressions, because that's what ultimately leads to the looting. And sometimes we loot with a cause, or we protest with a cause, and sometimes it's just out of, I have all this pent-up aggression, and I just got to get it out, and that's just how I got to deal with this anger. So I wanted you to kind of talk about dealing with these aggressions that we feel.
The microaggressions that inflict us on a day in and day out basis.
Yes, sir.
Due to I was just saying that Corey and I were debriefing a case yesterday, and how the microaggressions happen so fast in front of us that we don't even sometimes see it. The other thing is when I say know your ancestry and really learn around being assimilated and marginalized. Okay, because if you're not aware you're assimilated, if you're not aware that you're marginalized, the microaggressions are going to happen right in front of you. Okay, so they're going to say. What they typically say, I think the comment was, what have you been doing with this case for a year? It's like questioning us, doubting us,
right.
Or saying we're not doing our job, and that's a microaggression that tends to happen on a regular basis in our field. And if we don't pay attention to it, we'll just let it slide by, which perpetuates white supremacy and white privilege. That they can say, white people can say whatever they think and feel, and believe that Black people need to answer and respond to it, and bow down to their world.
That's right.
So one thing about microaggressions I want to say clearly is we have to know that they're existing, that they're happening in front of us, in order to be able to combat them. And then we have to learn to be able to regulate, I always keep saying this, regulate our anger and our rage, and be so we can respond in a way that combats the microaggression and doesn't leave it sitting in the room. Because when that microaggression comes across and we don't address it, it goes back to it goes back into the system.
That's right.
And it really just supports white people's position that they believe they can say whatever they want to say to people, and believe that they have the higher road or higher path to excellence.
That's right.
And that's not always true. So having a voice around those, if I'm answering the question,
absolutely,
give it over to Corey, but just we got to get educated and know we can't be assimilated to this white supremacist culture.
That's right. And Black self-respect, Aaron.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think definitely picking up on what Gene said in that situation again. Max, a Black woman, talked to me because she caught it, and she pulled me aside and she said she didn't like she had history with the woman, so that was different. But I think she knew something that I didn't. So I think, like Gene said, having a voice, and to your point, Charles, about there is a responsibility of white people that doesn't fall on Black people. And I'm not saying do not engage with white people at all, but there is a level of, okay, what did that mean? What are you looking for? What are you asking me? What are you really trying to say? And having that dialogue. And then there's some people that are committed to arguing. There's some people that are committed to just being right, but at least at minimum being able to have a voice, and you can stand up for yourself because no one else has domain or right over Black voices or Black bodies. So that's really a major important part of it.
Yeah.
You know something?
Go ahead, Max.
Yeah, I was just going to tell Gene, something else that's can be hard to kind of combat is not taking a blanket approach when it comes to white people in general, not just white officers, but white people in general. Like, you all just don't like Black people. You all think a certain way about us. I mean, quite frankly, I can't stand you all, right? It's like I really have to self-check myself and make a conscious decision to not, when I encounter any white person, feel that way about every single one of them. And this is not a feeling that I choose to have. I'm probably one of the more fairest silver lining people that but when something so traumatic like this happens and happens again and happens again, just it becomes harder to come back from. It's always in the subliminal, but it's difficult. The mental scars are difficult to deal with.
Can I add something to that, Max? When the brother was young man was explaining like his feelings about just how we have to move as Black people, I always like to point out that there's a loss of humanity in that behavior because you're not functioning freely. And when you're not functioning freely, not only for us, but I think Gene, he illustrated it so eloquently, it's for the people classified as white as well. And Neely Fuller uses a term, and he said, and I love it because he says the relationship between Black people and white people on this planet is typically tacky and trashy. And I think that's accurate because none of us are really being ourselves. Are we all, let's be honest, are we all even really living on this planet? Like what is living? If someone's being mistreated, but then someone else is looking at them, I don't understand why they're being mistreated, and neither person can actually look to see clearly what they're seeing. Is there even a relationship? And that it really, during these times when I see on social media or when I just observe people, I just see we have a lot of work to do. Like a lot of work to do just as human beings. Are we serious, Matt? Like Matt, and are we serious about really having a planet of peace? Because all of the evidence that I see, we don't want anything to do with that. We like racism. I'm talking about we like racism because Black people, we have to get serious enough about solving the problem. And I don't think people classified as white are serious enough about ending it. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. And then you have the rest of the planet that just gets on an anti-Black. They're just anti-Black themselves as well. So it's just, it's very, everyone says this is a great life. And I'm trying to figure out, none of us have what we're supposed to have. We don't have peace. We don't have justice. I heard a Black man say something that I just said to myself the other day. Remember, we were supposed to talk about that article, Charles, about how we function in the workplace. Sometimes smiling when we don't want to smile. Having conversations that we don't want to have. Max is speaking in a manner that maybe something she wants to say something to her supervisor or say something to somebody at work, and she's just thinking, as a Black woman, I can't say that. That's not living.
Right.
No.
Right.
That's death internally. And are we as humans going to do something different for our children? Because this is the 500-year-old problem. As my dad said, you just got on a different outfit. I had an afro, you got a fade.
You're right, my brother. You are so right. You are so right. If I can just add on just a little bit to what you're saying, because we get hopeless, sometimes because it has been 500 years. And so I smile when you say that, because I say the same thing. It's 500 years. Not 400, it's 5. The thing I think about when it comes to white people and allyship, right? And believing that I was talking to my brother from Alabama. He says it ain't gonna change, and I said, brother, we got to believe that at some point it will change or something will get better. I'm not looking for a mile long for it to get better. I'm looking for an inch. I'm just looking for an inch, and I'm looking for that inch to be real deep, okay? And around change. And you're right, brother. It's dismal. It's dismal out here. But I do want to bring from the racial awareness support group that we've been doing for the past 2 years in Charlottesville, Virginia, and we just started in Richmond, that not only when it comes to microaggressions, right, that we need to call them out, but we need to call our white allies, who they say they're allies, we need to call them out too. We need to ask them, how come they didn't lean into this with us? How come you sat and let that occur? And I need you to have a voice with me, or you're really truly not an ally. Your silence, your neutrality is not helpful. And I usually, and Max, when you say blanket, all white people, and right now, in these hours, I'm like all white people, okay? And when I'm rageful and when I'm hurt, I'm like all white people. And when I get some space and get some healing and come back to my true center, then I can start to be able to, okay, it's not all white people.
Right.
We're traumatized and we can't see straight without healing or space or safety. It's going to be, and it's okay for us to have those thoughts and feelings of rage. Please do not ever discount your rage as something wrong with you. Okay? No, rage is valid. Okay? And it's usually been pushed to a point where it comes out. Okay? So right now, when I'm saying all white people get on my nerves and I struggle with them, yes, right now I'm having a hard time. But when I get back to my center, when the trauma has been lessened and for a while, then I can not use the blanket anymore. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I need that blanket to wrap myself up so I can be okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Max, kick it over to you.
Yeah. Gene, Corey, Zuri, is there anything else that you guys wanted to leave us with, or? Anything you wanted to share before we let you guys go? We appreciate you as usual. Thank you so much for sharing your Saturday with us. Community, thank you. World, thank you.
Yeah, so at my club's meeting yesterday, we created a couple action steps so we can take action during this time. Three things that we can do right now. Three things that we can do. We can text the number 55156. Once again, that's 55156. And in the message, type Floyd in all caps. And once you do that, a petition link will be sent to you. And you can click that and you can sign that petition. You can also text enough in all caps to 55156. You can text justice to 55156. And there's so many petitions out there. There's the phone number to the district attorney, Mike Freeman. His phone number is 612-348-5550. And yeah, do what you can, because that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to do what I can.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and can you guys share that with us? Can you text that or email that to me? All right. Sounds good.
All right.
I would definitely say really know what's going on with the community as well. Like when you mentioned earlier, Charles, I'm definitely not. I know you didn't say this, but I know people throw the voting thing like that just fixes it, and that really dismisses how Black people feel, what they've experienced. Like, oh, just vote, and then that's it. Like, no, It's not that simple. So I'm not saying that, but really know what's going on in communities and really actively get involved where there's really knowing just the historic parts of your areas, get involved with city council, these schools, really know what's going on so you can see what's happening, because there are things that happen every day in the system that continues with white supremacy, and some people don't really get to know, because it's easy to look at the commander-in-chief and say, oh yeah, he's probably a racist. But there's other things that are going on around. So I think, like Zuri said, taking those actions and really knowing what's going on in your areas as well.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Max,
sure.
Max, I just say I just want to say I appreciate you guys really allowing us to have
Definitely
authentic conversation around race and the trauma that we're going through. Max and Charles, Aaron, we really truly appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
As we do you. That's right.
Yes, sir.
All right. You guys take care. You tuned into IMHO. We're speaking to Gene Cash with the Counseling Alliance of Virginia, as well as his colleagues, Corey and Zuri. Again, we appreciate you. We thank you for all of your work to help and heal. And we wish you the best. Thank you for playing your role.
Thank you all.
Till next time. Take care.
All right.